All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we have a joint meeting with the FinCom and the Board of Selectmen. Under new business, we are going to review and finalize the proposed town meeting warrant in preparation for a special town meeting on October 18th, 2016. Tracy, do you want to head into that?
Sure. We had an opportunity to meet last Tuesday night with the Finance Committee to take a preliminary review of the articles as they're being presented. So you want to just go through each one and then I'll record your votes for the appropriations booklet that we provide to the residents. Normally, we give them to them as they come into town, into the town meeting. We have them available at the town clerk's office, but one of the things that we had discussed was possibly mailing them out, make sure that people are aware that this is going on. I don't know if that's a practice you've ever done here before, but that's something that we might want to consider.
How much would it cost?
I'm not sure. It's probably going to be only a couple of page booklet, maybe 3 or 4 pages if we did it double-sided. I have to
Because
find
most
out
of
how
our
many
mailings
households
we
we
usually
have.
put right in the tax bill,
Yeah,
so.
well, that would, yeah.
We just got our text.
Too late for that. Too late for that.
Yeah, so that's something we might want to consider.
Usually with labor, when we do a mailing,
Yep.
it comes out to be about 50 cents a piece if you're going first class
If you
mail.
do first class.
Single rate. By the
Yeah,
time all is said
with
and
a
done.
2-page thing, should be only 46 and a half.
Yeah. So I can find out how many households. Not something you might want to think about, but anyway, so the first article on the warrant is adjustments to various line items. The most significant one is to inspectional services. They're asking for a $10,000 increase in their expense line item. But this is a cost where, what happens with the new software that we just implemented, it's a point software program, is there is a fee. Each permit that's pulled has to pay a $10 fee, a processing fee. That fee has to get deposited into the general fund, and that fee is what pays for the software. But we have no way of paying directly out of the general fund, so this $10,000, although it looks like a significant increase, it's really a neutral action, but we need an appropriation from town meeting in order to pay it out. And that's based on, we figure that might be conservative on the high side. There's about a little over 9,500 permits pulled last year, so that's what we're basing it on. IT program expenses were presented. That's a new operating budget this year. In fiscal year 2017, the position is operational and functional now, but we do need, although we funded the wages, we didn't fund any expenses. So these will cover the cost of doing business, mileage, those types of things. ZBA, we have that 40B proposal before us, so they provided an estimate of probably an extra $600 in wages to cover the hearings. Town clerk, we have new registration requirements, and also that will provide for the assistant's wages during the clerk's vacation.
That early voting, so.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the early voting.
Yep. And shellfish salary and wages, that's actually the commissioner's stipends. When we did the calculation for the wages for this year, we didn't include the stipend, so that was inadvertently left out. So that's the first one.
Now, on, what would be the appropriate language, so I get the right language when we ask this? Just a motion to include?
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve Article 1. Do I have
So moved.
do I have a second? Is there any discussion?
Will the inspectional service expense be an annual thing now? So we'll base it on the previous year's permits pulled? and-
Exactly.
So if they pull only 9,000 permits, we'll have, or 900 permits, we'll have $1,000 left next year.
And we can leave that as, you can do it one of two ways. You can either put it into the expense account, or you could leave it as a separate line item, so that whatever isn't expended just would become a component of the next
Carryover.
year's free cash.
It's raise and appropriate.
Is there any other discussion?
What was the postage for the 1,500?
It was just based on last year's expenses. I'm sorry, I think I skipped that.
Any other discussion, guys? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Jean, you're gonna vote tomorrow night?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right,
The second article is requesting $680 be transferred from an inspectional services expenses to the IT expenses. That's the cost of the iPad for Susan Noyce. We're moving the expense into the appropriate category now for our financial reporting at the end of the year.
Housekeeper.
Pretty much.
all right, a motion to include Article 2.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 3, you see this every year, we have an article that pays for what we term unpaid bills. Our fiscal year ends June 30th. We only have through July 15th to pay any outstanding bills. Anything that comes in after that date has to be paid for in this manner. So one is from inspectional services, the first one. The second one is Board of Health. Third one is IT, and the fourth one is the Board of Health. And these are all, this isn't that anyone didn't process it properly. It just depends on the timing of when it comes in. So we have that year after year.
Article 3, motion to include.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 4, we had talked about previously at one of the selectmen's meeting. We were awarded the Assistance to Firefighters grant. And as a requirement, there's a 5% match attached to it, so this is the appropriation of that 5%. And the department is going to use it for communications equipment.
What's the, can I ask a question? What's the total amount of the grant? Just so for reference.
157,189.
Right.
Good. Motion on Article
Motion to
4.
include Article 4? Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in
Be
favor?
silly not to do it.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
I would like to make a comment, that's okay.
Go ahead.
The Finance Committee at the urging of Larry voted to send a letter of thanks to the folks that went after this grant. It saves the town $57 million.
Yeah.
Which would otherwise come out of our operating budget, so, well done.
Awesome.
The next article came at request of the fire department as well. They were seeking $20,000. That's not for a year, that's an appropriation that would be a special article that would not close out at the end of the year. That money would sit in that article until it was fully expended, at which time they would request another appropriation. And that's to pay the cost of physicals, hepatitis B, and other vaccinations for the public safety personnel.
Article 5, motion to include.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion?
I have a question on this one. Would this cover the Department of Public Works, people that clean up after car accidents and the hazmats in the streets and stuff? Do they do that? Who does that?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but we had a similar discussion and wondered whether, although this is for for public safety personnel, we also had the same discussion whether or not it should be for a broader group of folks, and whether or not it belonged under the Board of Health in terms of its management through their health agent or not. We had that discussion, just to make you aware of that at our meeting on last Tuesday. So
I guess we
I
have.
don't know if it affects whether or not you do it. I think it matters how it gets implemented. I mean, the vote on this would not change, I don't think.
No.
But it's just our thoughts would.
It also seems like some of these things, physicals are usually provided by your healthcare provider. So why are they an extra expense on our first responders rather than through the healthcare the town
What I
has?
understood is that it was a fit for duty type of physical and to identify any pre-existing
That's right.
conditions prior to hire.
I guess, do you know what public safety personnel, what
Police
jobs
and
that?
fire and emergency management.
That's it?
Yeah.
I would assume, I believe I saw Jimmy come in, but
Yes.
I assume you could word the language of the motion in a broader manner so it could encompass any safety personnel or any employees of the town if you wanted to.
It's probably not a discussion for tonight.
Yeah.
Down the road, maybe a good idea.
To expand it out. I'm just confused as to why vaccinations and things like that aren't included in their health care plan. I mean, that seems
They might be, maybe this is just to cover anybody whose health insurance doesn't cover them to have a
That'd be shot.
B shot or a
Other
physical
vaccine
or any other vaccines that they might need.
I mean, Linda might have a point, but, I mean, I don't know, but I don't think I've ever had a hepatitis B. You might have when you were in the fire.
Hep
Hep
C.
C, Hep C,
Yeah.
usually,
Hep C and B, yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know with all these convoluted health plans now, whether that would be.
They
all-
probably would cut it out and
they
say, no,
probably
we're not
have
paying
covered,
for
so
it.
maybe that's the reason for
Yeah, in the letter
it.
from the
Yeah.
chief, it talks about the Hep B being a 3-time shot for $78 per shot with a titer in the following year for $48. The 3-part shot for each year would cost $219 per employee. TB shot is a $15 annual shot.
Maybe a liability issue.
You don't want,
I think
you don't
you
want
have
Hep B
a
or Hep C.
No.
You
I mean,
don't.
I certainly think we should approve it. I'm just
Yeah.
surprised that it isn't
Yeah.
covered under some other aspect of,
It might be,
so, I mean,
but it depends on their health
on their
insurance.
health
Well, I mean, it's
insurance.
certainly not gonna be used unless it's needed to be used.
Yes, no one goes out for extra shots, so.
Oh,
I think that's probably enough discussion, we can move on.
All right, where do we stand? Did we-
Motion to include, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The next article is requesting $25,000 from free cash to make structural modifications to relocate the communications center, which is the last area of the PD, up to the 2nd floor. Deputy Chief here, do you want to talk about the different components?
Sure. What this is all about is, this is the last component, to go upstairs. The comm center is still downstairs in the basement of the now police station. What we need to do is move them upstairs, but we have to modify structurally the area where they're going to go. We have, we're repurposing a lot of what we have downstairs, you know, obviously for cost savings. The bulletproof glass and the pass-through glass, that's going to be moved up. I talked to Jimmy Surratt from the Highway Department. He's ready to help us with that to mitigate some of the costs for that construction, so we're going to be repurposing that. As far as the furniture, the comm center furniture, that'll be moved or repurposed as well to the temporary facility. One of the things that's also included in this request is the repair of the antenna system. They're all about 25 years old, and the shelf life or the life expectancy of these things is about 10 to 15 years. From what I'm told, I'm not an expert on the comm center stuff, but people I'm talking to, that's what they're telling me. I have no reason not to trust their judgment, but I can visually see the splintering of the fiberglass antennas, and the cabling that's running out to them is not UV protected, so there's deterioration there. There's infiltration of water into the connectors, so there's a lot of things that are degrading the comm center aerial system. So that needs to be upgraded.
Those will be transferable to the new building?
Absolutely, that was my next step.
Perfect.
So what we also need to do, and this is the opportune time to do it, since we're in the temporary facility, hopefully moving to a different one, getting the new equipment for the radios themselves. What we have is conventional radios, the mobile units in our comm center right now. They're made really for being in vehicles, but we have power supplies to them, which is not the way you want. You want a base unit that's upgradable and usable as a base unit in a comm center. We need to upgrade to the digital systems. We're in the analog right now. We need to upgrade to digital radio systems because the statewide intercommunication, interoperational ability, that's their model. So if you want to stay in communication with other agencies, you want to stay ahead of that. This is the time to do that. With the digital radios, it's also, they're split systems. You have your remote heads, which will be in the building someplace, but the actual units themselves will be in the IT area, which conveniently enough now, the temporary IT area, the mast is right outside the window. So you just have to run the antenna cabling, which is a very, very expensive part of this component, labor and material. You just have to go inside the wall into that, and then trigger Cat5 wiring to the comm center. So it just makes the infrastructure of the radios themselves very, very easily deployed and then redeployed to the permanent facility. So nothing is wasted here as far as those efforts. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, what we're looking for is updating the comm center equipment that needs to be done anyway, that can be repurposed or reallocated, and getting the comm center out of the basement, upstairs to where it belongs. Actually, we're right outside the foyer, that's the new foyer that we have too, so we won't have to be dealing with the public through intercoms like we are now. We'll have the window, people come in, they can talk to somebody right there. Any questions?
Well, Article 6 first, motion to
Motion
include.
to include Article 6.
Second, is there any discussion or questions for John?
The only question I have is, I talked to the chief at one point about, and he mentioned the possibility of putting a holding cell in. Have you guys looked at that any further, or is that something that's
Putting a holding cell in.
downstairs, or finding some temporary way to hold prisoners?
Well, we have that now.
You have that?
We have a temporary, I mean, it's not even, there's upgrades that would have to, infrastructurally, upgrades that have to be done to make that compliant. So we have, I guess we can call it temporary holding facility, but it's not up to state specs.
So we know what
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah.
the cost of an upgrade to make a compliant holding cell would be?
The actual cost, I'm not prepared to answer that. I can tell you roughly what we need to do. The plumbing would have to be revamped, the ventilation system would have to be revamped, the access to it, whether it's through Sally Port or whatever, to secure access to that holding area. There has to be isolation from female cell, and male cells. It cannot be either audio or visually, they have to be completely segregated. I don't know how that could happen with that down there, I really don't.
Okay.
Especially isolated from where most of the police are, if dispatch goes upstairs too, it'll still be downstairs.
Well, yeah, I mean, there'll be monitoring issues that can be easily overcome with an infrastructure. I mean, that could be done. But just trying to accomplish an acceptable, at state level acceptable holding facility, I just don't see how that can happen down there.
And none of that's gonna be transferable, probably.
No, of course not. I was just curious,
Yeah.
what it would cost if we look at doing it for the temporary, for the 2 to 3 years that
Yeah.
before the next building can be built.
Right.
So,
I mean, the way we'd have to go along now is the way we're going along now, where we have to have somebody sitting with the person. We'll get rid of them as quickly as we can, that sort of thing, So that's where we're at now.
fair enough.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The next article is requesting $260,000 from free cash to repair the Main Street Bridge. We have already hired an engineer, and we're working with him on the design. That it would have to go out to bid. In addition, we've also submitted an application for grant funding through the state. We received pretty decent news. We don't know whether or not we'll get the funding, but they said where our project is further along the pipeline as far as being shovel-ready, it's being reviewed favorably, so that's more good news.
Article
A
7,
motion to include Article 7?
Which bridge?
Main Street.
Main Street.
There are
Main
two.
Street.
By the mini mart, I guess would be the best way to.
Yeah, there's one in the mini mart and one just a little further up the hill.
It's the one,
Yeah, it's
Thanks,
more
the first
the
one.
culvert than anything. We have one side repaired, we are planning on doing the other, but not until the directional drilling that the gas company is gonna do is done and over with. It would be our luck to puncture a brand new gas line.
Of course it
So,
will. It's Murphy's Law.
yeah, so we want that
These
done and
things
know
are
where it is and all of that.
Is this the Park Road or part of the park?
That is Parker Road.
it's over the park.
Yeah, I thought it was, I thought.
Yeah.
There's a fish ladder up there,
I was
As a
looking
matter of
at
fact, that was
the
due
other
to
day.
start this week,
Mm.
so, any day now, they should be there to start that project.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 8 is requesting $4,700 from free cash to purchase and install a telephone system at the Council on Aging. Susan Noyes has spent a lot of time, the library, the COA, and obviously here, and analyzing our systems. The Council on Aging is the one that's in the most need of repair. They have constant problems with the lines, the static, disconnections, sometimes they just don't work. She's already addressed the Verizon issues, but now it's left to hardware issues. So the Finance Committee had asked to gather some additional data on the number of calls they receive, I think it was. So Maggie will be putting that together as, but this was the approximate cost of a new system.
Motion to include Article 8?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Article 9 is the requesting $6.5 million for the designing, constructing, and equipping of the new police station and the remodeling and reconstructing of the town hall. This is the language as prepared by Lock Lord, our bond counsel, and on the additional information I gave you the motion language. Everyone understands the difference between an article and a motion, and the motion does very specifically cite the dollar amount in it.
Motion to include,
So moved.
Second.
is there discussion?
Naturally, there's discussion on this one. I still think we should be slowing down rather than pushing forward. I know no one agrees with me, but I'll just state it for the record. I think we should be trying to do the complete project. I think it's fiscally more intelligent. I think we get a better product at the end, and I think we save our taxpayers money. So I think that's what we should be doing. I know I'm overruled, but that's my feeling on the matter.
And just to, for clarification, and I know that's how you feel, Damon, is it it's not the whole it was the police and fire complex with rebuilding town hall that you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thanks. Is there any other discussion? Gene?
At the request of Chairman Walker, we prepared some financial information for the board.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Eric and I met and went over some of the numbers, along with the bond schedule prepared by First Southwest. Does everybody have a copy? Except for you have one, okay. I want to quickly go through it, just to give you kind of an overview of what we're looking at. You know what? No, but you know what? I've got some extras. I have some extras. I don't have enough for everybody, but if somebody out there would like some. Obviously, all of the information was prepared by First Southwest, and that's from where we got the data to generate this figure. The estimated cost, of course, $6.5 million. The length of the bond, supposed to be 28 years. projected band interest rate is 2%. Would add, the band to the bond anticipation notes that you go out for prior to going out of bond. It's probably 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years, it's temporary
It's a
borrowing.
temporary borrowing. And they used a very conservative interest rate for the bonds, which is 4.5%, like very conservative. If the interest rate could actually be as low as 2.8 if the town receives the USDA community facilities loan. Based on,
And then that's about 528 years, right?
well,
Up
it
to
could,
40.
it could go up to 40, but I think that's a discussion we have at some point with the finance committee.
I mean, for that amount of money, that
Right.
seems a reasonable time.
Right.
Yeah.
And based on the information provided by, I can't remember his name, but we were probably in a pretty good position.
Jim Lavin.
Jim Lavin to go after that. Page 2, one of the things that we always look at is the impact of debt on our taxes. This graph shows where we were in 2010 and where we are today, which is 2017. The 3 dark diamonds are the 3 years in which we probably would apply, to mitigate the tax impact, we would apply some of our free cash. It's also a period of time when with the new debt starts to come on, at least the payment for the bands comes on, our existing debt has not yet been paid off. So there's 3 years there where it goes up a little. Then it begins to go down because we pay off our debt, and then settles in at about 31 cents, 32 cents per thousand. If you go to the next page, and this is where I got personal. Because
Use your house to get.
I used my house. I did. My house is pretty much where the average assessed valuation is. That's why we use those numbers. Currently, the tax rate per thousand of debt, that's fiscal 2017, is 41 cents per thousand. So the portion of my taxes that goes to pay off the debt is $177. If we go through the next 3 years, we still have some of the old debt to pay off. So it goes up to 44 cents per thousand for those 3 years. And my cost is $190. That's $13 more than what I'm paying now in those 3 years. In fiscal 2021, some of the debt is paid off and it drops a little more. So it's down to 38 cents per thousand. Or the impact on me is $164, which is $13 less than what I'm paying. When we finally go out to bond, the bond is 31 cents per thousand or 32 cents per thousand for the life of the bond, which averages about $43 less than what I'm currently paying. The information at the bottom indicates where the free cash would be applied. It's about $610,000 over 3 years at different levels. The last page is simply backup information provided by Southwest, and that's your bond schedule. That's where we took all of the information. I just thought it was important because when we look at financing any kind of project, you want to look at the impact of that project. And I think it's important for you guys and you folks to know what that impact is. I'm showing you what it is on my house. If your house is twice as valuable as mine, then it would be twice as much. If it's half as valuable as mine, it would be less. But I think this creates some kind of a picture for people to make some kind of judgment so how it impacts
Broken
them.
down the layman's language, it's great.
Anyway, I thought it would be helpful for you to review this. if it's a warrant.
Gene, during those 3 years, if we didn't use free cash, does it become extra?
It goes up.
Not really. Here's
It's
a,
not high. We did run that.
we did run that, and you can look at this graph. And it's also, if you look on the third page, if you look on the last page here, the numbers are taken from column
F.
F.
F if it's not,
F if we don't
if you
use
don't use it.
free cash,
Right.
H if we use free cash.
Ah,
So you see a little
See the
bit of,
difference?
so that's where it would have gone up, if we don't use free cash, it would go up to 57 cents per thousand in FY, sorry, my eyes are not as good.
No.
FY 18, thank you.
57, 55, and 66.
Yes, that's
57,
right.
55, and 67 for those 3 years. So that's where we're making, if we use the free cash, we're using money that has been, basically the free cash that the town has at its disposal to lessen the impact on taxpayers. So we're using money that we've basically, for lack of a better word, kind of have saved in a way to be able to lessen that burden, looking ahead that
We
way.
did that, I think, when we generated it the last time.
Yeah, we did that as
The
well.
schedule. Because there were those 2 or 3 high years.
It's the spike years right after.
Right.
Spike years, right,
Yeah.
exactly, because it's the time when there's existing debt has not been totally retired and then layering in new. So just kind of, again, talking about what seems fiscally responsible and keeping the best interest of residents.
I like it. I like that.
All right, thanks, Gene, and thanks for accomplishing that. That's good, Erica, and Finance Committee and everyone involved. So Article 9, I would take a motion to include.
We already did that.
Okay, thank you. So we have a second too?
Yep.
And this is for the discussion.
This
Is
is
there any
the
more
discussion.
discussion? Then I would, all those in favor?
And I'm voting against it.
Article 10 is just as submitted in the citizens petition, so that automatically goes on the warrant.
I'm sorry, you voted against it?
I did.
So it's not just an abstention, you're voting yes?
No, I'm actively voting against it.
Where are we now, Trace? Over. Done. Do you need anything else to tie that up, anyone?
No,
Finance
just
Committee, anyone?
signing the warrant so I can
Right.
give it to the town clerk for
And
posting.
all those motions carried that, so we can just sign it.
Yeah.
Then
10 automatically goes on because it's a citizen
automatically,
petition.
because it's petitions,
Okay,
so.
I was just curious. because we didn't
Under-
have signed this one.
Under new business, we also have vote to sign the warrant for the state elections, and you have that, and we just need a motion.
Motion to sign the.
Second one.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We also have executive session tonight. Raymond, I'll pass this to you.
I move we enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to pending litigation because an open meeting may have a detrimental effect upon the litigating position of this body. Roll call vote. Chairman Walker,
Chairman Walker, yes.
Selectman Bear,
Yes.
Selectman Me, yes. Selectman Colby?
Yes.
Selectwoman Greco.
Yes.
All right, so,
Throw everyone out or move out?
so,
Jeff?
yes.
They have to adjourn.
Oh,
No, before we adjourn, you guys need to go to executive session, so I'd like to adjourn to that one.
we could actually,
It's gonna say, wow, week.
we could,
The recreation
there's
committee's
somebody
meeting.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Another one?
We could meet in the hallway.
We can meet in the hallway, it's just about tomorrow night, that's all.
Yep.
So why don't we meet in the hallway?
Yeah, just when Aaron's-
all right,
Thank you,
so,
thank you all.
Sorry, did you say whether you're going to reconvene in open session?
This meeting will not reconvene at the conclusion of the executive session. Sorry.
Thank you, Jen.